Well, I tell my students at Beeson Divinity School that going to seminary, if we're talking about seminary students, is not like going to Christian summer camp where everything's going to be about the warm and fuzzies, and not to downplay Christian camp. But I think theological education, seminary, it's more like boot camp. And so I think students need to probably go in with eyes wide open, recognizing that this is going to be a difficult task. There'll be material, there'll be topics, there'll be issues that are complicated that they will have never been exposed to before, and to be prepared for that. And I think one of the key areas of preparation and living into that theological education experience is thinking hard about one's spiritual life in the middle of that. The old story is of Benjamin Warfield overhearing two students at Princeton Seminary talking about, should I spend 10 minutes in my studies or should I spend 10 minutes in prayer? And Warfield interrupted them and he says, well, why don't you spend 10 minutes in prayer while you study? In other words, we tend to bifurcate our heart and our minds. Another theologian, Karl Barth, said that the theological task is prayer and work. Not prayer that then leads into work, but work that's framed by a life of prayer. And that's hard. I think that when one gets into study, when one gets into the complexity of study, finding space for that or living into that is a real difficulty. And it takes a while, I think, for people to get through that and over that. I think I read Eugene Peterson at one point saying, no one leaves seminary unscathed. So I think that's a really important part of one's seminary or theological education life, is learning to enter into a full-orbed learning experience. Another aspect, I was reminded of this recently, that someone asked Brevard Childs, how do you become a better biblical exegete? And his answer was, I think rather surprisingly, his answer was, well, become a deeper person. And how does one do that? Well, that ties into what we talked about earlier with prayer, but it also ties into reading literature, being a full-orbed person, thinking beyond just the sort of myopic world of theological studies. And that contributes to, I think, a wholer, fuller person. So I think those are important aspects.